Hey guys, welcome back to the Fall Camp Preview Series. So far, we've covered the quarterbacks, running backs, wideouts, and now today we finished the offensive side of the ball with the offensive line and tight ends. If you are new to these Fall Camp Preview videos, we'll break down every position group, I'll tell you who to keep an eye on, what spots in the roster are worrisome, as well as discuss every position battle. But before we get into it today, I do want to give a major shout out to today's video sponsor, SeatGeek. With the college football season right around the corner, SeatGeek is your one-stop shop for tickets, guys. They take tickets from all over the web and put them into one incredibly easy-to-find place. They even grade every single ticket so you know if you're getting a fair deal or not. And SeatGeek is now hooking my subscribers up with $20 off your first order when you use my promo code GGreens at checkout. That's with 3 E's and 3 S's. So again, thank you so much SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video. Alright guys, so let's get into this. So obviously with two position groups being combined, and just the offensive line alone having a ton of guys, we're only going to focus on the 5 starters, 1 veteran backup, and a freshman. I will briefly go over the depth guys, but we won't spend a ton of time on that. Alright, but first up here, let's start in the middle with Justin Dietich. Now, despite attending the awful and grotesque Chaparral High School in Temecula, California, Justin has actually turned out to be a pretty good player. He looks to build off a really impressive 2022 season that saw Justin become one of the premier interior pass blockers in the entire country. This is such an underrated facet of the offensive line. As the LA Rams have showed us with Aaron Donald, there is no quicker route to the quarterback than from up the middle. More and more defenses are bringing their premier pass rushers on the inside on passing downs, so it's now more important than ever to have elite pass blockers on the interior. And Justin is that for sure. I really felt like his performance against UCLA was one of the better offensive line performances I saw all year. He really handled that Bruin defensive line. That's actually pretty nasty when you really look at it. And the move from guard to center is one that I think is perfect for Justin. He's actually originally a center, so the move makes total sense. And again, despite having attended Chap, he's actually a really smart guy and an even smarter player. And I've said this before, but having a guy that has actually played the center position before is so important. That position's so unique, and it could take a while to get fully adjusted to it. But what are my expectations for Justin this year? I fully look for him to compete to be the best center in all of college football. That's something I think he's fully capable of. Him not being named to the preseason All-Pac-12 team this year is a complete farce. That's just ridiculous. But Justin's a very talented player, can't wait to watch him this season. Alright, so let's move out to the left tackle spot now and talk about former Florida Gator Michael Tarquin. So Michael comes over from Gainesville and brings with him 20 career starts that came in a conference that in general is completely overrated, but to say the SEC doesn't usually boast the best pass rushers and defensive linemen would be false. So in terms of specific one-on-one player competition, it's fair to say he's seen some of the best at the collegiate level. And in a similar way to Justin Dietich, this is a guy that's a very solid pass blocker. I look at that Florida-Oregon State game, a game in which most of the Florida offensive line was completely overwhelmed. And as SC fans, we all know firsthand how that defense can generate pressure, but Michael really held up in pass protection, only allowing 1 pressure on 31 true passing snaps. And if there was one spot on the Trojan offensive line last year that wasn't solidified, it was left tackle. Bobby Haskins was in and out of the lineup with injuries, and the play at that spot was not as consistent as the other 4 spots. So if Michael can do what he did last year at Florida, maybe play a little better, we have a really good left tackle on our hands. Alright, so let's slide over now to the left guard spot. We have another transfer here in former Washington State Cougar Jarrett Kingston. After being a guard in 2020 and 2021, Jarrett made the move over to left tackle and had a really fantastic season up until his season-ending injury. This is another guy who's a better pass blocker than run blocker. But Jarrett's no slouch in the run game either. He's no Andrew Voorhees in that regard, but he can still get after it. And while he'll most definitely start as a guard for SC, having a guy who has that positional versatility really makes things easy for the coaches. When there's injuries to the offensive line, and we know there will be injuries there, reshuffling things and finding the best combos can be very hard. But when you have guys like Jarrett that can play 4 of the 5 spots on the line at a high level, that makes putting all the other guys in an advantageous situation even easier. So very good player there. So now let's jump over to the other guard spot on the right side and let's talk former Wyoming Cowboy Emmanuel Ogbah. Now this guy is the real mauler on the USC line. Emmanuel is an incredible athlete for his size, he's going to be an absolute menace when pulling, and I'm sure he'll have a couple of highlight blocks downfield this year as well. This was a huge addition in the transfer portal. Emmanuel's a guy everybody wanted. I'm sure you guys remember he had so many offers, it was crazy. If he can get a bit more polished in the pass game, he's someone I definitely can expect to finish the year as an all Pac-12 type of player. He's going to be fun to watch, though. He has that mean streak in him for sure. Now moving to the right tackle, we have who is, in my opinion, the most underrated player on this entire Trojan team heading into this year. Of course, I'm talking about redshirt junior Jonah Monheim. Last year, Jonah was truly fantastic at both the guard and tackle spot for SC. He played over 700 snaps at right tackle and nearly 300 at right guard as well. It's huge that he's back. The country, I'm sure, doesn't really know about Jonah yet, but they will. This is a guy I'm sure will be talked about a lot when the NFL draft comes around next year. Jonah's a great player, really hope he can stay healthy. So overall with that starting five, I actually think as a full starting group that this year's line is better than last year's. While there doesn't appear to be a player at the level that a guy like Voorhees was at, I do think across the board that this group has a little bit more quality. Alright, now let's head to the bench and talk about Mason Murphy. Mason is a guy that has a lot of upside and potential. He's just got to lock it in with the consistency. He'll more than likely start out the year as the swing tackle, which he did last year. And that's not an easy job by any means. You have to be ready at all times to come in and play either on the left or right side. It's a really tough job. And Mason had some good moments last year. It wasn't all bad. That UCLA game was a real low point for him. But he has a lot of talent. And he drew very high reviews from the coaching staff in the spring. So he looks to play a role this year. And the one freshman we'll get in depth with today is, of course, Elijah Page. You guys know how I feel about Elijah. I think he's incredibly skilled and talented. He'll obviously start on the bench, but if he can get some good live reps in early, then he's someone I could see getting some run later in the year. But regardless if that happens or not, he has a very bright future ahead of him. I think he's going to be a real star. Alright, now just a few guys to pay attention to. Micah Benuelos is a true freshman menace that I don't think is ready to play this year, but he's going to be an absolute beast in a few years. And also USC's lanky freshman tackle Tobias Raymond has put on some serious weight this offseason. He does look to redshirt this year, but he's a talented kid that'll factor in down the line. Alright, so that's the offensive line. Again, here's my projected depth chart, with the two tackles being Tarquin and Monheim, Kingston and Pregnon as the guards with Dietich in the middle. Great group there. Now let's move to the tight ends. Now, this is a position group that has some intriguing talent, but the depth here is far from ideal. This room is a few injuries away from being a very worrying spot on the roster. But let's get into this here. We'll start at the top with Lake McCree. Lake is someone that I think has the tools to be an NFL tight end. He's got the size, athleticism, and he's shown an ability to grow and develop, primarily as a blocker. Now, he wasn't a dominant blocker last year, but I thought he got better and better as the year went along. And in regards to the passing game, Lake just needs more opportunities. Caleb Williams is a type of quarterback that always looks for the big play, so the tight ends aren't always his primary option. But just in terms of growth of the offense, I would expect Lake to put some bigger numbers up this year. Alright, next let's talk about Jude Wolfe. Jude is a very talented guy that has really struggled to get on the field during his Trojan career. He didn't play a snap on offense last year due to that foot injury, but he appears to be healthy heading into fall camp. I've said this before, but I do think he's the most natural fit in that H-back spot we have on the roster. So if healthy, I would look for him to play a role this year. Next, I want to talk about true freshman Cade Eldridge. I mean, Cade is an incredible athlete. He played running back in high school, and I really think he has the tools to be a surprising breakout candidate for this year. He's going to be a big run after the catch guy, so if we can get him out in space, I think he could cause some real damage. And finally, we finished with former Utah Ute and linebacker Carson Tabarachi. Carson, of course, made the move from linebacker over to tight end during spring ball. There's literally zero depth in this room, so moving him over was a real necessity. He's a good athlete with some good size. Don't really know what to expect there, but there's some legitimate potential to say the least. But overall, I honestly don't know what to think about this room. I mean, Lake is a proven very solid tight end. We don't know what Jude Wolfe is going to be this year health-wise. And while we have our ideas, we really have no clue what to expect from Eldridge or Tabo. So we'll see. Let's hope for a healthy year for our tight ends. Alright guys, so that's the offensive line and tight end preview. I would love to hear from you guys. Who are you most excited to see from both the offensive line and tight end room? Make sure to let me know down in the comments. But guys, that will do it for me today. If you did happen to enjoy this video, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a ton. And if you do want to help support the channel in an even bigger way, you can do so over on my Patreon for only $1 a month. Thank you all so much for being here today. You're all awesome, and as always, take care and fight on.